Hello, hello, hello. I'm back for another round. Just got through watching Sid and Nancy. Man, is Gen X ever bleak, depressing? That was the most dysfunctional. Like, oh my God, the Gen X women so far. Laura Dern in Wild at Heart, Lula Fortune, Nancy Spurgeon, played by Chloe Webb. Um, I was all excited about, hey, let's watch Gen X stuff and we can learn all this stuff. But now I'm thinking, I don't know if it's too good for people that didn't grow up in Gen X to watch all this Gen X stuff. It's like I'm starting to come around to trigger warnings and like trauma from it. It's intense. We were an intense generation. I think the next one I'm going to show is Blue Velvet, and because that brings in the sadomasochism. But before that, I'm going to screen a short from the year before, 1985. Richard Kern, Submit to Me, which it grew out of the no wave cinema scene. Um, it's basically a music video to a Butthole Surfer song, and for like a youth made art video, it's pretty intense. Like all the shit from Blue Velvet and all the other movies after was right there in that little short in 1985. So I guess I'm just struck at how when I talk to the friends from my generation that are parents and have kids or are in positions where they have to work with kids or make policy for kids, I notice they tend way more toward safetyism than I would. And when I ask them about it, I get stuff like, Jeff, do you remember how we grew up? Do you want future kids growing up that way? And of course, I always think, yeah, I had a blast. Like Gen X was the best generation ever. Think of all the fun we had. And yeah, I want every kid to have that. And then I start looking at our movies and thinking about some of the stuff we used to do and get away with. And not having kids of my own. I've worked with kids. Um, okay, I can have enough intellectual humility to grant them a little bit of a point. Um, as long as they remember I'm not their kid, so don't get any of that on me. I still want my Gen X free. We were the rebellious. We rebelled just for the sake of rebellion. And it wasn't against social causes or because it was a very nihilistic generation. Um, I think we were rebelling against consumerism, the perceived hollowness of life, but more than anything, it was against social norms, against mediocrity, um, against stasis. I think more than anything else, against these abstract kind of intuited or emotionally grasped concepts more than any kind of rational tactical rebellion. It was more like the instinct or the impulse to rebellion, a creative rebellion. In fact, that's one of the lines from Slackers. A passion for destruction is also a passion for creation, or something like that. Um, Let me check on the news. So, depending on how this panel goes and the night goes, I may do Blue Velvet tonight, or I may save it for tomorrow. I'd kind of like to get it done tonight. Wow, this is the top headline. The historic Biltmore estate in North Carolina suffered extensive damage. I did hear that Helene was one of the worst hurricanes in history since Katrina. I think it is the worst since Katrina, even worse than the one that hit my town in 2020. Biden signals opposition to possible Israeli strikes on Iran's oil facilities. Um, Israel has given no assurance it won't target Iran's nuclear facilities. And Biden's out there spreading fearful rhetoric about hateful rhetoric, which makes the hateful people fearful. And we see what's been happening there. Speaking of safety and safetyism, people are really paranoid about speech and misinformation and disinformation. But we had that way back during Fox News um, and the end of the fairness doctrine. I don't know what you do about it other than consume information more intelligently. I don't think we need a nanny state to babysit the rest of us from stupid people. And that seems to be what most of the Democrats want, from what I'm hearing, at least their lead spokespeople, which would be Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton, Tim Walz. There was another one today. I forgot who. There's that Stacey Plaskett representative. Oh yeah, it was John Kerry. I saw he said something today about speech. In fact, why don't we try to find it? Has identified Democrat John Kerry, currently serving as president under as Biden's climate envoy, has identified the First Amendment as a major block preventing the government from hammering disinformation out of existence. So the First Amendment is now a block, an impediment to his goal or his agenda or what he wants for America. Nah. An attack on the First Amendment is an attack on my my America. Hey, Untrackable. What's
Hey,
up?
what's up?
What's going on?
No, I heard you were going on about something, and
Probably. I was going on about free speech being under attack.
I believe it, but that's also a tricky one.
Well, the video clips I'm seeing seem to be legit, and the things that they're writing, like the articles about them that quote them. Uh, Kamala, Tim Walz, Hillary, John Kerry. I played the videos of them throughout the last couple of months, where they talk about wanting this extra power to police misinformation and how the First Amendment is getting in the way or can get in the way. Okay, we have Eric Lawless in the back, and as I recall, you owe me a Cash App from last time, so your little ass is not getting anywhere near the stream until I get my money. That was the deal.
Is it? Um, it,
America is not Germany. Germany was a very particular historical situation.
it it's a tough thing because freedom of speech. Uh, I would ask, is it okay under the freedom of speech to lie?
That depends, but I think it depends more on the consequences of the lie. Like fraud would involve lying, and deception, and there are crimes that would involve lying. But as far as me lying to you and like telling you I did something yesterday that I didn't really do, the Supreme Court has set the parameters for free speech, and they're pretty broad.
Yeah, and I believe in the broad interpretations of things because if I lied to you and that specific lie gave me some sort of notoriety or money, um, that's when it becomes into question because I could lie to you all day long. I could tell you I was a super soldier, and I could tell you that I was like the Terminator, and I could tell you that I hold the world record for long distance sniper kills. I could say all kinds of things like that, but where does it become fraud? And that's when you get gain from what you said, right?
Um, the the current there's certain categories that can be restricted, and they include incitement, so you can't try to incite lawless action, fighting words, words that are likely to provoke an immediate breach of the peace, and actual threats, and this varies by state too, because some states have different threat laws than others. Obscenity, so some speech can be deemed obscene. Defamation, these are statements that harm someone's reputation. So that type of speech could be restricted, and child pornography. Those are the categories that there can be some restrictions on.
Okay.
But lying, like me telling you, like lying to you about something I did, is not into one of those categories. Nor is hate speech. Nor is offense or harm or all this other stuff. That's all legal. Speech is legal here. First Amendment. We can do all of that. We're adults. We take the consequences.
And I appreciate you bringing up the consequences because there are things that people do where uh, it's so free and so clear on the internet and oh hey, this is a whole new idea of showing your face and talking to people that if if you're gonna lie to somebody, um
It's
it,
live for all the world to see. Like
and
it
it's
has its own consequence built in because you've been captured lying in front of the entire world.
yeah, yeah,
And so I don't know what more a government could come in and do on top of that.
a and there's a certain way that people deal with liars.
I'll leave them alone.
Well, uh, sometimes, um,
I hate being lied to and lied about. And if somebody that I trust turns out to be lying to me, that's like an instant turn off. And I'm not talking about the little white lies, because they're going to try to tell me that people come on here and lie all the time, but they're not lying to me about things that I'm trusting them to be truthful about. That's what I consider a lie. If they're trying to mislead me personally for their own gain or to deceive me.
yeah, but but there there are paces that I think some people go down, and especially in the streets, they're gonna say things and to maybe help their arguments, but what they're really doing is saying things that they may have to atone to later
Yeah.
because like you said, being recorded and being truthful and being honest, um you go ahead and say make a claim about yourself or what you believe in or something like that along those lines, And then when you show up someplace else, uh, so many places are connected in one way, shape, or another. Even if it's just through the algorithm, somebody's going to see you saying this over here,
I know. I don't know why they do it.
but and I'm not,
Also,
I'm not,
though, I have found that because even when the liars get exposed, even when it's obvious this person lied, because there's a stream that proves that they lied, nobody cares. It's still try. If it's somebody on their team, they're gonna find a way to rationalize and excuse the lie anyway. And if it's somebody on the other team, they're gonna hammer on the lie and blow it up to be a bigger deal than it is. So even lying is not treated factually here. Nobody cares about the reality behind the lies. They just care who's doing the lying or are perceived to be doing the lying because it's tribalism.
you know what?
That's why I can point out the liars and show that they lie, but it's not going to change anything. Like nobody's going to care.
Yeah, no, it's about you doing you and pointing out what you're going to point out as far as what your channel is about.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
I
you
just
could,
if I know somebody's lying, I don't mind pointing it out. I think it's useful information for the community to know. But that's about all I can do with it. I don't expect the lying to stop. I don't expect people to stop talking to that. I just at least the information is out there. Everybody knows this person lied, so they can factor into that when they're like assessing whether to trust people or not, like who to trust or not. That's an important thing in this setting is figuring out how much to even invest in the first place, and then when you do, maybe Joe could talk about this one day, and who to invest in if you're going to invest at all, other than casually. Oh, oh wait, yay, we got an outlier, and we have another guest backstage. Um, Thank you very much, AAA, aquatic amateur aquatic addiction. Um, do you have experience with addiction? You could be a great resource here. Hey, Abe. All right, let me see. I'm pretty sure this person is not a troll, but let's double check. Let's get the troll overlay on. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Nice to see you guys or hear you guys and see you
Uh
guys.
can you hear can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yep, I think
Okay.
so.
I can hear both of you.
Is my volume really low? Because I usually set it pretty low coming
No,
out of the
it's
panel.
more about like maybe if you cut out or drop off like you do.
Okay.
But so far it seems to be holding.
Excellent. Good to see you, gentlemen.
What's going on?
Nothing. Nothing much. I just joined. I know you haven't been going for very long, but I heard you talking about lying.
Yeah. Like
So,
lying on social media or on the Panelverse where it's captured and archived and everybody could see that you lied.
mm,
And people still do it. They lie left hand, right hand all day long. And people know that people lie and nobody cares. So lying has some kind of different relationship here, maybe, that I'm used to it having.
yes, I agree. In fact, I think a lot of people with experience on YouTube and especially in these panels tend to assume people are lying more often than telling the truth. But then they approach it like it's real while they're discussing it, but then later will accuse each other of lying. Um,
Yeah.
essentially LARPing is the goal out
Yeah,
there.
it's
So
that blurry line between fact and fiction, between reality and fiction, between organic, inorganic, genuine and produced that keeps showing up here. And if you're not alert to that line or that it even exists, the Panelverse can be very confusing.
have you ever had a moment in your life where at this point in time you reflect on that moment in time and it's like you feel like it's like this, but then 10 years down the road you look back at that same moment in time and you're like, and then 10 years from then you look back at that same moment in time and you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah, that's
that
every
was the
moment.
that was the moment in time.
You mean essentially like you can revisit something that happened to you and actually see it from such a different perspective, your whole story about it changes?
Yes.
Yeah, that happened to me. Um, my father gave me a book, let's say a grammar book in university. And my dad's not the shopper of gifts, but he was one of his tasks. He had a second family, and one of his tasks was to go to Costco on the weekends, so that his wife was not doing that grocery trip, right? It's just one of the things he liked to do, get out of the house. And when he was out there, he would sometimes buy us these gifts. So he picked this book up for me, and I was struggling in university at the time to do well in English. I just wasn't. I was not getting the same thing out of these short stories that everyone 100 years prior to me had, and I was getting like a C. So I always thought my dad got me that book like to make me get an A. But over time, I realized I was a poet at the time. Like I was doing all sorts of writing, and it could have just been a gift as a resource, knowing that that's something I was interested in, you know? And I used to tell the story like it was like, it was in a series of other stories, like that of criticisms of my reasons
That
why I
you
didn't
were
write that.
telling yourself at the time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And
then
they
when
all
you go
just,
back and
yeah.
look, you realize that that's not what happened. You tell yourself a different story.
We- Yeah, yeah, that I thought that he was just like trying to demand an A out of me because that was typical of my father. He wanted us to perform, but I read that into the book because I was getting a specific grade in university at the time. But, ultimately, years later, when I was in the middle of telling the story, because people used to say, oh, you should write. Why don't you write? And I'd give them this series of events. Oh, somebody photocopied my diary, translated it, and sent it to all of the Rotarians in Mexico. I'm exaggerating, but that is true, and I felt like I
This
had
was
been,
this was growing up, like even before the
yeah,
Panelverse. People
yeah,
were
I was,
doxing and
yeah,
trolling with your diary.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my god!
And I was 18 at the time. So I had this, like, I didn't want to put things down to paper. I had this, like, oh, my diary was photocopied and translated. And my dad bought me this book to get me an A. You know what I mean? And I was just in the middle of telling this story for the, like, umpteenth time in my life. And I thought, what if he just bought it because he was trying to connect with you? Like, what if it had nothing to do with your achievements and all to do with supporting you as a
Because he
resource for
never did say, right. He's just like, here's
exactly.
a gift.
Yeah. Yeah, and my dad's not a man of many words unless it's discipline or he's a guy who he was a doctor and he was pretty devoted to his work. He was a provider for the family. The moms did the majority of the parenting, and he was brought in as a heavy hand, or we had fun too. He'd take us out on the weekends, once one of us would go with him to do his rounds and stuff like it. He was definitely involved as best as a man that busy could be. But I read that into it, and it was a real moment for me because I thought, fuck, like how many other stories do I
Hmm.
have that I'm telling myself that, just fit the mold of him, disciplining me at 12 years old as opposed to supporting me at 20, you
A
know?
lot of us grow up in our own world, and we don't even know it.
Mm-hmm.
Like we
Mm-hmm.
we are manufacturing our own reality. Like that's very different from the people around us, but it doesn't seem that different growing up. Like that's one of the things I noticed is how different I was than I actually thought I was. I was even more different than I realized. But I have the opposite issue. Mine is all the stuff that I was oblivious to. That as an adult, I go back and notice that I should have been telling myself certain stories that I wasn't even aware was happening to tell myself stories about. So I have to like go fill in all of those.
I hear that too. I didn't realize how truly socially awkward I was until I started comedy in my 40s and was surrounded by like people. And I'd just been oblivious to really, I always knew that I rubbed people either the right way or really the wrong way. Like people love to
Yeah.
love me or love to hate me, but I didn't necessarily understand how much of it was me. The panel verse has actually helped me see a lot of that too. Did you have an example, Happy, that made you point that out? Oh, he might have stepped away for a sec.
Like I had a completely different story about my mom growing up than I do now. Like we were in and we fought constantly because of things I thought about her and stuff she thought about me. And we'd fight for hours and hours and hours and never talk about the stuff we actually thought about. And then looking back as an adult, I see her completely differently now. I'm like, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would know not to fight about this. I would know how to interpret this more accurately. I would know how to have a conversation about this to keep the fight from like turning into. I would know all that now, and a lot of it is based on how I saw her at the time. And there were things I was convinced about her that just were not true. Like the way she felt about me or her relationship to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't know, if they're not verbally telling you, you're going to interpret negative experiences and anomalies as personal. You're going to have like make up a story for why that's happening. And without any way to check that, you just run with that story your whole life until you like look back with some kind of different insight and can revise it.
Mm-hmm. And often, at least I've learned that often by that point, sort of the damage is done.
A lot of times, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In this case, I was able to use that to restore or like kind of like begin a new type of relationship as an adult, really.
Mm.
That was different from the one we had as a kid. And I don't think I would have been able to do that without that ability to go back to to certain moments and re-perspectivize them, like I don't know, find a different story to tell yourself because it's all ultimately story. Like again, I go back to that inner subjectivity. None of it's subjective. Like an event happened to you, an actual event, but everything else about it is a story, is a narrative,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be changed. It can be revised, edited, rewritten, and even the new narrative is true. It's not any more or less true than the old narrative.
Yeah, it's very true.
It might be more correspondent to facts, but it's still subjective.
Yeah, very true. It's nice when you overwrite those stories too. It's a lot easier said than done. Is that a
Oh, no,
program?
no, untrackable. Hang on. Do you wanna talk about it? It's you don't owe me anything. You didn't do anything to me at all. So it happens, and I do know there's plenty of people around here that would talk to you about it if you wanted. So don't feel self-conscious about it on my account, please. Yeah, I think intuition can be a rough guide, but mine's been right before and I should have listened to it and it's been wrong before and I should have not listened to it. Cuz I think it goes off of like pattern recognition or something. And sometimes you might not get a pattern quite right or you might miss something.
Does Untrackable want to come back up?
I'm not
Yeah,
sure. He's certainly invited to.
yeah, of course.
That was like that. Who was it that I heard the term the other day? Intuitards, which I liked. And that movie I was watching today, Wild at Heart, with Laura Dern. Her character was she was not very intellectually bright, not very observant. She was very much like lived out of her raw, in the moment emotion. But she was very intuitive. She could just never seem to put the full picture together. But every time her intuition picked up on something, it was act like she was definitely on to the thing she thought she was. She just never bothered to completely follow it through, like follow up on all her intuitions. And so that was like a picture of somebody that puts their whole reality together through these little flashes of intuition and the emotions that she has in response to them. And that's how she navigates life. And she was so helpless, like she needed another person, maybe not necessarily a man, but she definitely needed another human around, I think, to help her like function in life. Was my impression of her. But that she did have her intuition going for her. But that's about all she had. Yeah, I guess that
Right.
could be. Like, I can usually tell when people are lying or bullshitting about something like that. Um, Sometimes it's an intuition about people. Like, a lot of times, I tell people all the time, my whole life is trying to tell them about this person or people, and they don't listen to me, and the thing I'm trying to tell them about happens, and then them coming to me and like a year later and me saying I tried to tell you. Like I tend to kind of know in a flash what to expect from people. Sometimes right down to the behavior level. And it like 8, sometimes 9 times out of 10, it's pretty close to what happens. Are you really? Um I do know there's I never liked the bitchy gays, and I've been called bitchy gay myself. But I do notice that like the new generation of LGBT, the trans, the queer, maybe it's because it's so activist heavy. They're very bitchy. They're just like narcissistic and bitchy. Which gay bars were like they were full of that enough as it is. It's just like a gay bar. That kind of gay bar psychology spilled over into public life.
There's I haven't spent a lot of time in the public sphere since 2020. I mean, I worked for a good solid year in a rental company, but I wasn't really out there engaging in public, with people beyond our warehouse walls. And a lot of people in public service say that the world has, gotten very bitchy, that people are very short.
Well, it's hard
And
to tell up here, but certainly up here it has.
yeah, they don't have the same kind of, yeah, people are really impatient.
They look irritated. Like the service people look irritated that they have to serve you. Like you're ruining their day by having to ring up your thing or wait on you or something. They're so hostile and passive aggressive.
Hmm.
Confused gays. Yeah, they're just miserable people. That drugstore cowboy movie I watched today just captured the misery, the atmosphere and the misery of the people up here.
Is that the one that I came in at the end on, or is that a different movie you watched?
I think that was the one we just watched. That was Sid and Nancy, I think.
Okay.
And I
Sounds
think
like you watched some good movies today.
I'm on a Gen X binge because I'm trying to. I'm in learning mode. I'm in what you call hyper focus. I'm
Yep.
trying to get all this. I'm trying to revisit Gen X through some of the cinema of the day, and like notice its parallels and its possibilities for life in 2024, or at least life in the Panelverse. Which really, like, if I think Gen X is the best guide to the panelverse, and I think it's Gen X culture that's defined. Like tech, the millennials and the STEM people may have created the infrastructure of the panelverse, but I think culturally, the panelverse is a Gen X space, more or less. It like the Gen X culture is what's setting the tone for the panelverse.
Mm.
Oh
Do
yeah,
you
that's,
do you think that the majority of the people in it are Gen Xers? Like that's why the tone is set, or do you think that it's a bigger
I think
voice?
it's like downstream from. I think it's the because one of the things that keeps showing up these movies consistently is the sense of being lost, being an outsider, being afloat amidst chaos, and kind of having to have your own thing separate from all of that. And I think the Panelverse is kind of like that. It's unformatted chaos. It's people that are lost or miss. They don't necessarily fit in other environments, so they're this environment where they can kind of like make the chaos work for them. And that's very much that seems to be a Gen X thing. That we were a generation of chaos. There wasn't a lot of structure, and in many ways a post societal collapse generation. A weekend at Bernie's. Yeah, it kind of is. Slacker very much was like watching. It was like somebody from the Panelverse made a comedy about the Panelverse, but not a laugh out loud comedy, just a straightforward show, but with a lot of in jokes that Panelverse people would get. But they somehow did it 35 years in the past, but with the knowledge they would have today from being in the Panelverse. It was a very bizarre. I think my experience of watching Slacker yesterday is what set me on this track to begin with. I don't think I've ever been the same since. And I have to follow it. My creative process is such that I have to follow this through to the end or until it peters itself out. Because there's something in there that I need to get from it. Oh, yeah. Well, that's what Bex and I talk about a lot. Hey, Spike. Um, yeah, some of it I think there's an authenticity to some of it that people don't get from traditional media that they might be kind of starved for. And when it's the genuine authenticity, it's a legit thing. Like it's a valuable product or form of entertainment or genre, whatever. But then you have the produced variety, the inorganic authenticity. And people that are good at that type can mimic authenticity so well that you really can't tell the difference. And so figuring out at any given moment, am I dealing with something organic or inorganic in this universe? And that's not really a phenomenon you experience in real life. Like places like Vegas, you have to decide what is this person's agenda, are they lying to me, what do they want, etc. But it's not this double layer of reality. It's not like this binary of are they producing content for an audience that you're not aware of, or are they being genuine?
It to me feels more like real life simulation of Lord of the Flies than Survivor, though. Um,
Yeah, because we don't get to
like
vote any of these motherfuckers out. They keep showing back up.
exactly, exactly, and the
We
tribal
never get to
tactics.
go to
Yeah,
tribal
yeah,
council.
yeah. Making the ally ships. Anyone can jump ship anytime. You know the ally ships are yeah, the ally which is like Survivor, but there's no prize at the end, so there's no rules to the game, so there's just a little bit less fun in it. It's fun though. Not trying to diss it, but it's yeah. I would like to go to tribal council, but that's what you're going to do over here, isn't it? What is it? What are you calling it? Panel court
Oh, panel.
or
Well,
what?
drama court. Hey,
Drama
Brooke.
court.
Yeah, and we work. Chris and I were working on Panel Survivor, and Moose had an idea for a panel type of game too. So I'm surprised there's not more of that out there. Like Panel Survivor, or Big Brother, or even something like the Mole, I think would be very easy to pull off using a panel. I was in a mole game in the mid 2000s using just Yahoo Cities web pages and AOL, and we pulled it off. And so I think there's potential to do those kind of games here. We could even start off with
Yeah.
something like a game of Mafia or Werewolf.
Yeah. Yeah. Games and game shows would be fun to do out here.
Yeah.
There's probably some
And even
some
streaming some games. In fact, if anybody wants to help me learn Tabletop Simulator, there's some games that we could stream on that. Um, I'll tell you when you come on. Drama Court
Yeah, what's drama
is
court?
the way I handle all the trolls that want to come here and fight in the hall. Um, it's $100, and it gets you one plaintiff and one defendant. So if there's somebody you have beef with and you want to confront them, you can do it at Drama Court. It gets you an hour, and if you want to confront additional defendants, it's $50 per additional person. And if you want to call witnesses, it's $20 per witness to come on live and help you make your case and stuff
Help
like that.
me
But
out.
because we've never tried it yet, we're still in the pilot stage. The very first, only the first caller, call in now, can get it for 50 minutes for half an hour. But I'm only going to sell the half hour block for the first person just to test. Everything else is going to be an hour, and it's going to be at 100. Because the thing is to disincentivize and to minimize the amount that people want to actually bring drama here. So I
That
don't want my
makes
whole
sense.
channel to be drama court. Hi, Indiana Mom. I was thinking about you the other day, believe it or not. I was like, we haven't seen Indiana Mom in a while. She seemed cool. And y'all can definitely come up if y'all want. Yeah, it is kind of like Hobbesian state of nature, humans at their most raw. Part of it is because I think a lot of them just have poor conflict resolution skills, as did I most of my life too. If you're not taught it or don't have some like mentor figure to help you learn it, it's just kind of Wild West from there. Oh look, even Freak remembers you. Well, I wish that applied to the workforce too. Apparently, I'm not too cool for that. Oh wow, you were in. I read that it was the worst hurricane since Katrina. I had no idea, and I did not expect North Carolina to be the state that got the brunt of it. There's a few people here that from that area that have been coming on and sharing telling us about. Well, good. I'm glad you're back online at least. Wow. Are you still on the generator, or do you have your power back? And there's Billy. Here, let's check in with Billy. What?
Hi.
Hey, Billy.
Billy is saying that he's mad at me because he had to go to the vet and get a syringe in his bladder to get
Oh,
the urine in his bladder taken tested because he's on all I aren't tuxedos awesome.
Yes,
Anyway,
she's amazing. Yeah, that's
yeah.
Midge.
Hi
Midge
Midge.
is her name.
Midge.
Um,
She looks very regal.
And Brooke,
so
I'm known as Bexx, but I can be called Rebecca, Bexx, Rebecca, whichever. I was
okay,
going to
I
say I've
just saw
decided that
Rebecca.
anytime I make soup from now on, I think I call it Brooke's Broke soup. I'm not going to lie, I do the same. I make soups, but for some reason I've decided I'm going to deem them all inspired by Brooke.
Oh,
You
thank
can't.
you.
Luckily, you can freak for the low price of just $100. Unless you want to do that half hour for 50, I have one spot going. That's what it's for. It's going to see if we can resolve some of this panel drama that people are so addicted to.
Yeah, I've taken
Oh,
the next
wow.
step. I'm here. I'm here
Oh,
on your.
good, good, good,
Yeah,
Indiana.
I'm. I'm here on your channel. I have no YouTube accounts anymore. None at all. I can't chat in chat.
That's so
I'm.
weird.
I know. I missed you guys. I'm gonna miss you guys.
How come you
I've
don't
plugged.
have YouTube anymore? Out of curiosity.
I've been. I've been addicted to my phone for about 6 years, and since 2020, and definitely since last year when I started a channel, I really spend way too much time on this phone. And I've been easing out of it and doing a really good job finding balance. But it's that last stage of showing myself that, I don't need to spend 6 hours, whatever, 2 hours, 6 hours a day in live chats. Oftentimes I have the panel on mute in some of the rooms I go in just to hang out with my friends in live chat. It's just not productive. It's not working for me. Um, and so it's that next stage of finding balance. I didn't delete my channels, so I mean, there's always the opportunity to resurrect it, but it's more about supporting myself in finding a better balance in how I engage on this phone. And since I
Okay.
go on panels, I'm not giving up everything,
Yeah.
Um,
That makes sense. Part of the so my I don't have a YouTube channel, but I do have a YouTube account, a free account. But that being said, um my phone, I do most everything with my laptop versus my phone because I don't one I already know that if I use my phone, I would be more addicted to the internet than I am, because I like having balance like anybody else. But I don't um I don't do Facebook on my phone. Um I don't do any type of email on my phone. Especially if I'm working, I don't do work emails on my personal phone. And if a job ever wants me to look at work emails on a cell phone, then they're going to have to provide me a work cell phone. Just homework life balance type thing. But
smart,
when I got my smartphone, I was really wanting to stay with my, what I call dumb phones. um but Verizon said it would take about 6 weeks, and I needed a phone to be able to communicate with my the team that I worked on as well as my supervisor, at least via text. Which, okay, like if it was like text saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be out," or "Hey, I'm," like if it's basic work stuff, that's okay. But if like I have to be on a meeting, then I won't use my personal phone, if that makes sense. But I really needed a phone to be in communication with, with my job at that time. But like, I'm not saying that I don't look at my personal email on my cell phone, or I don't look at Facebook on my cell phone. I'm just saying I don't have those apps on my phone because I don't need to be that connected to the
Are
world.
you addicted to any of them?
Me, my computer or my phone?
Yeah.
Um, my computer a little bit, just and I don't even think I'm addicted to it per se. I think I mean, because I do other stuff, but like like if I'm at home and I want to listen to Spotify, whether it's music or a podcast, and I use that instead of my app on my phone because I don't want to waste data. So I think, I don't, addiction, I don't think is the right word. It's just, I use my laptop for a lot of stuff that I could use my phone for, but but I can get up and leave. I don't, like I turn off my, or I disengage with internet to be able to watch the news, but like I can easily stop if that makes sense. I'm not addicted to my phone. Definitely not addicted to my phone.
But it sounds like you put barriers in place knowing that that could be a problem. So you
Yeah,
set
that's what I was
boundaries.
asking. Is
Yeah.
addiction a
Yeah.
danger? Like, if you were addicted, what would you be addicted to? But let me clear up women's rights first. Yes, people can come on. It's open panel. Unless you're doing drama court, which I doubt you have anything to confront Brooke or Bex about, hopefully. So it's just an open
Ooh.
panel.
With all the grief I've put out there, Jeff, we might be able to make you some money.
Oh, that's true. Like, y'all could come confront Bex if she
Yeah,
agrees.
confront me, man. Pay Jeff and you can talk to me.
Um
There's a handful of people that's the only way I would actually talk to them. More than a handful, probably two handfuls of people. But I would talk to them if it earns you $50 or $100. I would engage in that for
Oh,
you, Jeff.
well, there we
hey
go. We
wom-
have a candidate for drama court if anybody wants it.
hey women's rights, I don't have regular cable just because it's too expensive and it's just cheaper having and I sadly don't have a smart TV, but it's cheaper to do Amazon Prime,
My God.
Hulu Live, and Netflix than it is for basic cable in my building.
I'm surprised that the cable companies haven't figured out a way to compete. Now, I get that they actually, most of these other companies depend on the infrastructure, don't they? That you've set up. Like, I don't have any of those devices that you plug in. I don't have a smart TV or a device to plug in, but I'm assuming that in essence, I guess they're not running off cable or else the cable would work, but there's just infrastructure set in place. A lot of the cable companies up here have merged with the cell phone companies, for instance. So I'm just surprised that they haven't figured out a way to make cable cheaper to keep their corner in the market.
And the sad thing is, um, my last two places of residence were rooming houses, and we had two cable companies that fought for like good competition. But when I moved into my building that I have lived in for 16 and a half years now, there's only one cable option. And since moving in, when I had that particular cable company, because I had them at previous residences, their attitude changed and it was more expensive
Oh, because they were the only one. They had the
because they
monopoly.
were the only ones. So why have cable when they don't have competition? And at that point in time, the cable kept going out, which meant their internet kept going out, which meant their phone system kept going out. Thankfully I was still able to keep CenturyLink for my landline, which I went with CenturyLink for Wi-Fi and internet because Comcast kept going out. Like it was like multiple times a week. I don't know if that's still happening,
I
but
think
I've
so. I
never
think that's
had.
what we have, and it definitely happens.
And so for me, my internet. I'm not counting like because of like cold weather or anything, but like my in this and like the like probably 10-12 years I've had internet with CenturyLink, it's only gone out twice. I do know from people in my building who have Comcast for cable phone and internet.
Is that Midge?
There
Mitch,
she is.
Wow,
hi,
look at
There
her.
she
She's
is.
so Oh, wow. She's very active. Hey, Midge.
hi.
You're on the
There
world
she
TV.
is. So fucking cute. You want to wring her little neck?
Recovering low cal. How do you recover from that?
I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out.
What's
I,
low
I
cal?
might need to know.
What's low
Um,
cal?
People that other people they have this whole little audience that makes fun of them on YouTube and follows them around and makes video clips making fun of them. They hate watch people. So they pick someone that's I don't know, makes himself a target for that and then they kind of punch down on that person.
I don't think I've turned my camera on YouTube in 9 months.
Wow,
Hi
I like the
everyone.
orange. They can they see each other? Do they know that can cats see on the video?
No, well, not right now. My cat can't see the screen because I'm pointing the camera and
Oh
just on a
right, I
phone.
guess.
My
Billy, do
But
you
my
see
cat
Billy,
Midge?
my cat can
Midge,
probably
show
see
your little face.
Mitch, but he doesn't
Show.
give a crap.
Yeah, he didn't care. Billy doesn't look like he cares one bit about internet
Just
cats.
okay. All right, enough attention, you little cutie. Okay,
But
there
cats
we go.
can never have enough attention.
Uh-oh.
Okay, what's this the Gator Century stuff going on?
I assume that person's a troll.
Okay.
I think it might even be a sock.
Does is that a women's right saying gaydar sensory overload?
Yeah.
Is does gaydar include like lesbian radar or is it just
Yeah,
gay
because I'm
man
not
radar?
sensing anything. Are you talking about the freaks conversation or something on the panel? The freak is out policing beta males.
Oh, because of the cats. Oh, my cat might be a lesbian.
My
Oh.
cat can't be a lesbian because it's a boy.
I can't. Oh, no, no, no. Let me correct you. Let me be the first. Yes, they
What?
can. Now, yes, absolutely. Just
What?
because.
A boy cat can be a lesbian.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Nowadays, they can. Sex and gender are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
And attraction. It's the gingerbread man, the gingerbread cat, I guess.
And that should make all the straight men happy out there that are like, I'm a lesbian trapped in a man's
Yeah,
body.
you don't really know what you're with. You think you're with a woman, but you may not be. They were doing
Mid
this kind of stuff after Katrina too. Remember Brownie, the FEMA guy? What was the slogan? Something Brownie. Michael Brown, was that his name? Because the response was so bad from FEMA. You gotta remember all that. Y'all are millennials.
I'm not a millennial.
Heck of a job, Brownie. That was the one. Heck of a job. Yeah. Heck of a job, Brownie. Maybe
and
it looks like he may still, his legacy lives on.
did I hear right that like you guys know each other in real life?
Yeah,
Or no?
Yes.
Oh,
we're
you do?
peers. In fact, we started together. Like
What?
you were, I started on the phone line, and you. I don't know if you were there too. I don't know if
Yeah.
we started at the same time. If you were
I,
already there.
I started on the warm line before you did, and I was already certified as a peer.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, you were there
Cool.
from the beginning.
Not the beginning of the warm line.
No, but my beginning.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was my very first thing as a peer. That's where I got my start. Yeah, that's how they do it back home too. Louisiana does not wait for Uncle Sam to come and help them. We have the Cajun Navy. We have like locals know what to do and know how to help each other, and they have all kind of organizations that go out and hand out water, feed people, rescue people. It's very grassroots, and that came out in that Treme show that we were watching. How they can't rely on the government at all. Their whole little society in New Orleans is them making it happen by themselves.
Piers Beers? What the hell is Piers Beers?
Peers, beers, and queers.
Oh, okay.
Except, no, I'm gay, not queer. There may be some queers on here. I'm just not one of them. Mr. B's, that's that subtle, super subtle trolling you're so famous for. This was a little less subtle, but still.
Who's Mr. B talking about?
Some dude,
If
some
we say his name,
locale
if
that
we
hangs
say, if
out
we
here.
say, yeah, if we say his name 3 times, he might appear.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Sorry. When I hear someone say a person's name 3 times and he or she will appear.
That's so Gen X. Did you
Yeah.
see the new one?
I didn't know there was a new one.
Yeah, they're making a new with the same people.
A new Beetlejuice?
Yeah,
Wow.
Beetlejuice 2. In fact, I think
No,
it's
I didn't.
it might already be out. It's called Beetlejuice. You get it, Beetlejuice 2.
Okay.
A dark fantasy comedy directed by Tim Burton. Um, Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara. Willem Dafoe is in it. Justin Theroux. Danny
I-
DeVito.
I used to have a crush on Winona Ryder.
Oh, really? I remember her. She was like the little goth chick growing up. Roxy Carmichael, the Heathers.
Oh, and let's not forget about Girl Interrupted.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about the Heathers, too. I need to add that one to the list. Oh, man, that was back in 88?
Wait, The Heathers was back
Oh,
in 88?
Heathers is such a good movie.
Yeah, we need to add that
Oh
to the
my
list, too.
gosh.
Oh my lordy, I'm feeling really, really old, and I'm not that old.
October,
Or at least
well,
I don't-
October 88 in Italy, but it didn't hit Sundance until 89, and it was released in the U.S., wide release in March of 89. So it's very much
But I'm
that-
still feeling old. And I'm whining, sorry.
well, that comes and goes with me, the feeling old thing. Yeah, he was in Wild at Heart. I forgot how good he was. He kind of stole the movie even from Nicolas Cage. Paper House. Why does that sound familiar?
The Freak, I'm in my mid-40s.
A British dark fantasy from 88. Why did I know about this? This looks cool. Well, I might have to add this to the list too. Oh, and Verbal Combat just started. Let's see who's on.
I found a very. Oh, now it's gone. Whoops.
Nobody I recognize. Oh, right. That's your middle age. Yep. I think mine is 12. All right, I'm looking up this paper house thing.
I found a great definition of lolcow. Anyone want to hear it?
Oh yeah.
Yes, please.
Lol, as in laugh out loud plus cow, not to be confused with the laughing cow, is a derogatory slang term used to describe an eccentric or foolish individual with an internet presence who is deemed highly exploitable and therefore susceptible to online trolling or harassment. Milked for laughs, hence the comparison to a cow. So back to say that so they're susceptible to online trolling or harassment, especially due to their gullible display of online behavior. Don't feed the troll. Communities of harassers such as Kiwi Farms often digitally stalk, dox, and discuss lolcow victims at their expense. The harassers are fascinated by the abnormality of their victims' personal lives, including beliefs, sexuality, and/or behaviors. Many lolcows are neurodivergent or have extreme social and political views, such as so-called SJWs, MRAs, or feminist beliefs. Because of this, the communities that are obsessed with lolcows tend to be right-wing leaning. Despite this, some, albeit much fewer, notable lolcows are right-leaning, such as Ethan Ralph and Nick Riccietta. Basically, a fancy word to say this guy is easy to bully. Go get him.
Yeah, that's I said it like a long time that it looks like bullying to me.
Yeah,
Like internet cyberbullying. It's mobbing.
yeah, exactly.
It's a very like Lord of the Flies form of therapy
You know, like I
or
grew up
mental health care. I would even call it therapy.
I grew up in a time where and most Generation Xers are like this, that like for me, I'm a young I'm a I'm a Gen Xer at the tail end of Gen X, which means I had most of my young life without the internet. But when I was coming of age, like in high school and stuff, the internet came out, so I was able to do the internet stuff. But like, with that being said, I am so glad that I spent most of my childhood without the internet, because I was bullied, and I am so glad that I didn't have the bullying of folks on the internet as a kid.
Mm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Indiana, I've been doing a Gen X. I'm on a Gen X like movie marathon kick. I've been watching all the Gen X movies from the late 80s, early 90s, and I'm going to go all the way through the 90s. Um, we were a very, very disturbed generation. I think the future, these generations now that complain how miserable the world is, could learn a lot from us. We were the ones like that pioneered that crisis for them, and we could use what we learned and developed to pass it on to them. I think that's our role, or at least that's
And
what I'm going to try to make my role into.
and now we're needing, stupid warning labels and trigger warnings on shit.
Watching some of the stuff I'm watching from Gen X, though, I'm starting to like the NC. We were the NC-17 generation too. That's when those ratings really started to take off.
Bueller. Bueller. I love that movie. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
It's like this Bueller. Bueller. He was so
Yeah.
monotone. Bueller.
that was what
It's like,
88.
I don't know. You know
Man, the
what
list
movie
is
I would
getting
say?
longer and longer.
Yeah, don't
86.
revisit.
Damn. That's the. Let's hang on. Let's take a look here. That's the same. That's the year I'm in now. So, John Hughes. Okay.
Are you only doing, so you're doing the sort of pop culture? St. Elmo's Fire was one of the first ones that came out with
I
all those guys
yeah.
in it.
I knew this was going to happen because I originally was going to start with. It started with Slacker, and I was going to like do the 1990 because there were several that came out then. But then I started to remember some from a few years before, which led me into the late 80s. And now I'm like, oh my God, there's all these late 80s movies that set the scene for the 90s movies. So maybe I should go back and watch all of those too. And then it's ballooning, which it always does. So I knew
Well,
this was going to happen, but Slacker
yeah,
was the beginning of the thread. And I want to
St.
eventually
Elmo's.
get back to the 90s and forward to 99 because that was the peak
Hmm.
of postmodern filmmaking, which was, I think, the style of cinema that our generation gave to the arts.
Yeah. St. Elmo's Fire is one that I wouldn't recommend anyone revisiting if you have any fond feelings over it.
Well, The Breakfast Club is the classic
Yeah.
of like the high school movie for Robert. Of course, Footloose was the year before, and then we had The Goonies, which was also like defining for at least the misfits of my. I'm always going to be Goonies for life. I'm a Goonies kid.
My so fun fact, um s- um my dad at a very young age took me to see um like horror movies, including like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. And thankfully my dad's still alive, but he sadly lost his ability to read due to a traumatic brain injury, or TBI, which was caused by a hit and run drunk driver that eventually got caught. But and that happened when I was about a year old. And um uh, and because of that he lost his ability to read. But my dad was also a single dad and got help raising me from his parents, my grandparents. And my dad encouraged me to, I have dyslexia, and my dad encouraged me to read. So because of his love for horror movies, I ended up loving horror movies. So I had to do a book report in third grade, and I read um the It by Stephen King in the third grade. So I ended up loving like horror books as well because of my dad. And my dad to this day encourages me to read.
Hmm.
Sorry,
They're
I go off
good.
on tangents.
No, there's lots
Freak, are
of.
you on Tommy's show right now? If not, he's restreaming a video of you in it. Oh my God! Let me. Oh fuck! I do not watch Cube. Not Laz is fucking with you. Do not watch Cube unless you want to be very disturbed and have creepy nightmares. But I have been told I can't say much about the movie without giving it away. But I'll just tell you this, not Laz. I have been compared to the guy in the Cube before. You know who I'm talking about.
You, you know what,
No,
Mr.
we've been
B?
reminiscing about Gen X. We're not in the modern world at all today.
Mr. B, whether or not Stephen King is a horrible author for a third grader, my dad was doing the best he could because he sadly lost his ability to read. So he knew I was struggling to read because of a couple of reading disabilities, one including dyslexia. So he was doing the best he could. And if it wasn't for his encouragement, I probably would not be an avid book lover now. So
Damn,
please,
Mr. B, I bet you feel like this big of a piece of crap right now. Your
please,
subtle trolling just blew up all
mm,
over your little bee face. take that to your honeycomb
So
and stick it.
please, oh please, don't judge what a third grader reads without
Okay.
knowing why a third grader's reading that book.
They're gonna do it anyway. These are trolls.
Then Mr. B can go to hell.
Oh,
Sorry.
how's that for subtle? Oh, okay. Then Tommy's just restreaming old video. Then that's so weird because people in the Panelverse they'll restream, so you'll be watching other streams and you'll be like, wait, I thought this person's on this stream, but I'm seeing them over here too. Like you can be in multiple places at once in the Panelverse. That's why there's no time. It's non-locational. It's atemporal. It's the eternal moment. There's just the moment, the eternal now, and the eternal place where the panel is happening, and it's all we can be in multiple places at once, and time doesn't exist because it all exists at the same time. Vulgar. That's all you worried about? Yeah, you telling me. I'm getting reacquainted with some of them now, and I'm like, man, if this is representative of our generation, we do have a little bit to answer for. I don't apologize for any of it, and I embrace and love all of it. But Lucy might have a little bit of splaining to do to this next generation when they see it without context. Oh, wow. Cool.
Weren't we talking the other day about sex education and all that stuff?
Probably. Oh, VC Andrews are flowers in the attic.
Oh yeah, flowers in the attic. Flowers in the attic. They went flowers in the attic. Petals on the wind, if there be thorns, and seeds of yesterday.
I
So
still remember the
good.
books. It had the little hole where you could see
Yeah,
the little kid's face, the grandma. You open it up, and it had the full picture.
yeah. My Sweet Audrina was a fantastic book by VC Andrews too, and then I think she started another series, but then passed away, and her family hired ghostwriters for a while to sort of continue on some of the ideas she'd written, but it got too formulaic. So there were a couple other series after Flowers in the Attic, but they were built on VC Andrews' original ideas. And I know as a big VC Andrews fan, I could see the difference. Like I just wasn't they weren't as twisted. They were predictable. It was a fantastic series though.
I mean, I don't have any kids, and I most likely won't have any kids. But if I ever do have kids, one, they're gonna probably be adopted. But if my kid wants to read like a book, I'm just gonna use Stephen King in third grade, and they have the ability to read it, then I'm gonna let them read a Stephen King book.
I begged my mom for the Amityville horror book in the third grade, and she bought it for me. And it was
Did
this
you?
thick. I tried to get through it, but I just not with the movie. I didn't bother finishing the rest of the book.
That
But
was a
she did
creepy
buy it for me to
movie.
try.
Bleeding walls in a house and stuff. Like, oh, scary
I
stuff.
loved haunted houses, and I was fascinated with the idea of them. And I thought the movie would like give me more than the book, but it was too adult. Like as a third grader, it was too adult for me to be interested in.
Yeah, I was in grade somewhere between grade 3 and 5 when I was going to a sleepover at my best friend's house, and she had siblings that were 10 and 12 years older than her. Um, maybe not quite that much. Anyways, they were late teens and we were really young. And they had rented The Shining. And my mom warned me, just because she knew me. She knew I couldn't handle that stuff, right? But my mom warned me, don't watch that with those. She said you're not allowed to. And I ended up watching it. And I couldn't watch a Jack Nicholson movie till probably like 10 years ago. The guy creeped me out so bad. I missed out on so many good movies. Like even I think he was in a movie called Terms of Endearment or something like that. Anyways, I know he creeped me out so bad. Oh,
I
yeah, I put it
wasn't
all on him.
I wasn't trying to humiliate you, Mr. B. I was just telling you how it is on my perspective. So,
Book, how much experience do you have with trolls, internet trolls that try to fuck with you?
not much.
That's what Mr. B is. Don't take a thing he says seriously.
Okay.
I don't think chatters, and the one other thing too is that Mr. B's being melodramatic. Chatters can't actually rage quit.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Or they can, but it's like a tree
Yeah,
falling in a forest.
yeah, nobody hears.
Did you really rage quit if we can't tell that you rage quit?
Yeah, what does Frank say? Don't let the tent flap hit you in the butt on the way out. So don't slam the tent flap on your way out. I'm rage quitting. That's funny.
What's the opposite of rage quitting when you quit to go do something?
Quiet quitting? I don't
Even,
know.
I don't know, party quitting? When you quit to go do something
Or
even more fun? Well, that's on the list. Spike, okay, so part of what I'm trying to do, because that came out the same year as Slacker, a few months later. I'm trying to work up to pump up the volume, but I'm having to go back a little bit. And so I think I'm going to do Blue Velvet next, maybe even tonight, probably tonight. And that Richard Kern video, which is, if you want to see Gen X at its most darkest and most disturbing, um, while at the same time being campy and kitschy. That's the one to watch. So I'm gonna probably get that one out of the way, and then maybe move forward to pump up the volume. Wasn't it though? I'm not kidding. I saw one of them at the theater. I don't know if it was the first Electric Boogaloo or Breakin' or the second one, but I remember sitting in the theater watching one of them. Because I remember they were walking by this graffitied wall, and I was looking at all the graffiti on it, thinking how cool it looked. Oh yes, Heather's is before because Heather's was way earlier than I thought. We just looked it up, so I guess I'll do. Let's see, Heather's was what 80. Let's say the year before, if you don't count Italy. Which who counts Italy? Sorry, all my Italians. Hey Vinny, how you doing? Everyone else. Um, that's what I'll do then. We'll do Blue Velvet, and then tomorrow I'll do Heather's, Pump Up the Volume, and Grifters. Spike is the. Why are you going to? Why are you appealing to the nice mod? He's not gonna do Little Darlings. I
what
remember
about
Christy McNichol, but I don't know if an
what
all-girls
about an
camp is that
exit?
something I'm gonna enjoy. That was the skating movie. Was it Christian Slater? That was River's Edge. Was what 90, 95? I mean 85, 86. Oh, I could maybe throw that in because we're in 86 now. It came out about the same time as Blue Velvet.
I came up with a couple.
I better start
Well,
making a list.
opposite of rage quitting could be an exit of exaltation,
I think I'm about to do one of those.
or a triumph is another one. I was just trying. I like alliteration. I know rage quitting isn't alliterative, but The exit of exaltation and some sort of triumphant triumph or something like.
I think I will add River's Edge tomorrow. Yeah, Xanadu was certainly. I'm trying to hit. What I'm trying to do is find where it goes from the '80s to the '90s, like when our generation grew up and got all dark and angsty, and that seemed to happen about '86 over into like early '90s. The stuff we've been watching, because I'm trying to like that lost generation. When did we become lost? And I think it is about '86 that the guardrails that adults tried to place on us finally started to break, and we had that unbounded creativity, and it led to some very dark and strange places. We'll see if they have anything to teach us today.
So many good movies. This is fun.
I know. I think I might go try to do Blue Velvet tonight
Do you
and
do
wrap
you
that one up.
when you watch those movies, do you watch them with other people via
Yeah,
like a
watch them in the
stream?
Discord.
Okay,
We have a movie channel in there.
cool.
Are you in the
Bad, real
Discord,
bad, but
Brooke?
Me, no.
oh, I may not have seen that one, Rudy. Oh, yeah, that's about the time. It's when the John Hughes, Molly Ringwald era wore off, and the Heathers Pump Up the Volume era started, where the kids are like, "Fuck all this cutesy shit. We're ready to get like real, like face real life."
Well, and Heather's is an excellent dark comedy. It's very well done.
It really, and it has Christian
Yeah.
Slater too, who
Yeah.
shows up in Pump Up the Volume. And Name of the Rose also came about that time. That's not necessarily a Gen X one, but that's another good performance with Christian Slater and Sean Connery. Gilbert
Yeah.
Grape's definitely on the list, so we watching that one.
Oh my
Ooh, I
god.
Especially with
that
Leonardo
show.
DiCaprio, how he pulls off that little autistic kid.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's
What's Eating Gilbert Grape was and is still to this day probably one of the best movies
It
that
truly
have
is.
ever been made.
And you
Benny
know
and
that was
June.
Lasse Hallström, who's Swedish, and he got his start directing the ABBA videos.
Really?
Yeah, and then he transitioned to cinema.
Benny and June is a funny little movie.
Oh,
Little
with
cute little movie.
Mary Stuart Masterson and Johnny Depp. I
Yeah.
remember that one. That's a
And
good
was
misfit movie.
speaking of Mary Stuart Masterson, we're missing what was the one where she came out I'm gonna go look it up. It was a love story.
Oh
Let's see
yeah,
if
that's
we
a
can find
classic.
it.
Well, let's look her up. I know she was in Fried Green Tomatoes.
Yeah, she was in what I think it's probably her first movie, or close to the first, where Some Kind of Wonderful.
Oh yeah, was that one of those John Hughes type movies? I
Yeah, it's
forgot
a
all
love
about that one.
story where she's, a guy's torn between two women or something like that. I don't know. But she's a little haughty in it.
What about Edward Scissorhands?
Yeah, when did that one come out?
90s, I think.
I think it came out
Early.
I
after
think it
Home
was like
Alone.
late. Oh wow, it was 90. Yeah, it was like right after Batman. Because Batman was 89, the one with Michael Keaton. Yeah, that was kind of a Heather's like dark comedy.
Did you see uh Leonardo DiCaprio did so many good movies before he got typecast as a pretty boy in Romeo and Juliet, which he did a bunch of good movies after, but there's Basketball Diaries, um What's Eating Gilbert Grape. There's another one on the list where he goes from
It,
playing a heroin addict to playing an autistic kid to playing another very specific character. But I don't know if you guys knew that one of Leonardo DiCaprio's first um, film films he ever did or appearances in on film was a made for TV movie where he was a battered boy. It's a after school special. Really sad
uh,
story.
I to answer Ruby's question, I was basically forced or lied to, or anyway. So a bunch of my friends said that we were going to a movie, and I don't remember the name of the movie, but we ended up going to see Titanic, and I hate Titanic. I hate the movie Titanic in
I've
general.
still never seen it to this day.
Don't.
I
It's a
mean, I
waste.
know what happens, but I've never. I don't need to watch it in slow motion.
It's a waste of time.
Mr.
Yeah,
B,
the boat's late.
there are some like good sci-fi Pomo movies like 12 Monkeys and stuff like that that start to show up later in the 90s as that that kind of postmodern narrative style takes over. Minority Report, uh, those type of movies. But I don't know so much. The early '90s were the noir for some reason. It's the really dark stuff. Like I'm telling you, Gen X got very dark very quickly, and for some reason, those Bonnie and Clyde type movies, like Wild at Heart, Natural Born Killers, uh, True Romance, Love in a 45. There was just a whole series of it within a few years of these couple like boy girl romances that were them against the world, and they head out on the road and people end up getting killed, and there's all this crime and drugs. That's another thing. We were a drug generation. Oh my God. I've seen more addiction and dysfunction in these Gen X movies than I've seen on the Panelverse. Like way before the Panelverse. This addiction and dysfunctional relationships and dysfunctional women and men that are dysfunctional and don't know how to handle their violence. Like all of that is in these movies. That's why I really think that the modern world has something to learn from the art of our generation.
Well, I'm gonna hop down. My battery's dying, and I'm gonna plug it in and
Okay, I'm gonna
join you to
probably
watch a
head to the
movie in
Discord
Discord.
and do another movie before the night's out.
All
Oh
right.
yeah, Empire Records. That's another great one. That's definitely gonna make it on the list.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. Nice to meet you, Brooke, and good to see everyone in chat. I'll catch you next time.
You too, Bex. Take care. Thanks for coming on, and I will see you around. All right, Brooke. Is there anything you want to leave us with? Are you there? Oh, Brooke might have left us too. Alrighty. Well, I think I'm gonna go watch another movie. Yeah, me too. That's that. Me too. I've seen that one many, many times. I love the well, coming from mental health. I love the ontology and the epistemology of it. Those themes. Brad Pitt gives a pretty decent performance in there too. He plays a mentally ill guy. Yeah, games that want to get out. And they say they have the line of, "Are you divergent, my friend?" And now that has a whole new meaning. Like we're all divergent now. Yeah. Oh, he typed 12 monkeys and he made them. Fatty, you were Swift with those emojis. Your emoji game is fire. All right, I better stop and go back to Gen X land. Tonight we're doing sadomasochism, darkness, kink, all of that. That part of the psyche. I'm gonna do that Richard Kern short. It's about 10 minutes, and then I'll segue from that into Blue Velvet. Yeah, the Closet Land. That's another fucked up movie. Fisher King is one of my favorite movies. We did some mental health movies during COVID, and we started with Fisher King because it was such a good PTSD movie. Like for it he has trauma. Nurse Betty's another good one for that, and there's one with Diane Cannon called End of Innocence, where it's kind of her fictionalized experience of her inpatient treatment, and The Hours too. I really like. I have my own candle wax story that I might have to save for our Patreon paywall. Yeah, Gilliam is good. Well, we all know the first rule of Fight Club, but I'm going to tell you the first rule of Drama Club. It's the opposite. Tell all your friends. Tell everybody. We have Drama Club, $100. Get you an hour of confrontation. You can work out your drama. But there's one slot, the initial slot. I'm willing to sell a half an hour slot for $50. It's not a discount, but it still saves you $50. It's like the Chris Rock joke about, how about you like pour me a sip for a dime? 50 cent. How about you pour me a sip for a dime or something like that? And so you get one opportunity to get a little bit of Drama Club for half. And then we have memberships. You could turn yourself green or turn other people green and make new outliers and support the channel. That's really for people that want to like throw a dollar here and there once a month, 99 cents. We're going to have additional membership tiers as we come up with content. And we also have super chats, which I, you know, I'm I encourage people to get creative with the super chats, but just so you don't waste your money, tell me what you're trying to do ahead of time and negotiate in the chat, and then if I agree to it, then I will honor whatever you send. I don't know what happened. You froze up or something, but
Hey,
I'm gonna
what's a super chat? I know it's something you want people to pay for, but I'm just curious what it
Oh
is.
wow! Look, Uncle Fatty just created 5 new outliers. Thank you, Fatty. Let's give him his fanfare. Thank you very much. And so he just bought 5 memberships, and they assign them to 5 random people if they have their settings available to receive membership. So let's see who our new members are. I wish YouTube showed me. All right, let's see what we got here. Looks like it's channel regulars, but they're not necessarily here tonight. So thank you, Fatty. You have kept some outliers alive for another month. I sure appreciate it. And then a super chat, that's a membership. So a super chat is they can write a little note or send a sticker or an emoji, but you can request things with super chat. So like they can send a $10 super chat that says kick Brooke off the panel or mute Brooke for 5 minutes or something like that. And some channel owners will honor that. But because I don't do censorship here, whatever they're trying to get me to do, negotiate in advance so you don't waste your money. Because I probably will not mute or kick someone for money. Alrighty, I'm going to go get ready to watch these movies. And I'll see everybody in the Discord if you're joining. And if not, I will probably not be out again tonight. I'll be out tomorrow. Tomorrow we're doing more streaming. I'll be here in the morning. More Gen X movies. Well, she beat you to it. She kicked herself. Robbed you of that opportunity. That little whatever you get from it, that little jolt of pleasure. Um, and then also sometime tomorrow afternoon on Joe's channel, he's going to talk about managing risk, like just the concept of risk management, and then because that's apparently the foundation for investing. Oh wow. Okay, so Brooke, if you're still watching, this is a super chat. And Not Laws is very creative with it because he knows I tend to post them without reading, so he can sneak in little pithy, sophisticated sayings like this. Thank you, Not Laws. I guess I owe you some fanfare. Here you go. All right, that's good enough for $2. That's all you get. But thank you seriously. You know I appreciate you, Not Laws. All right, I'm headed to Discord. Everyone have a good rest of your evening. Ooh, panel drama already. Brooke's going to be one of us before long. Good thing she's a peer. I'm a little less worried about her. She just needs to get oriented on what trolls are and how to spot them and then not feed them. All right. That's that subtle bullying. We'll give you a subtle apology for it. My subtle condolences. All right, I better break away. I think Blue Velvet's probably a couple of hours, so let me go get that started. Yeah, we'll give you a crash course. In fact, I think Hank or somebody, I think if they're not, they should be. We need a Panelverse 101 for newcomers because I think the Panelverse is going to get bigger and bigger as more people discover it. Especially people like Brooke from real life making their way into the Panelverse. It's happening. I watched this happen with AOL, MySpace, Facebook, Twitter. Here we are. We're ready for it. Oh no, another DJ? Or is that a subtle troll towards Spike? All right, I got to get out here. I'll never escape. Oh, interesting. Okay. Fatty, tag me in Discord. I look forward to that one. The title alone gets 2 snaps up. That's a Gen X thing. That's another thing that started in 1990. Same year as Twin Peaks. And Pump Up the Volume. And Live in Color. And all this other like core vortex of Gen Xness in Live in Color. Yes. Yes, indeed. All right. Bye, everybody. I got to get out of here. Let me get my shit going. There we go. Take care. Keep raising hell. Go to hell. Come join me in hell. I'll be there in 10 minutes. And we will enter the hell of David Lynch for a while. With Richard Kern. See you there.